Paranormal. It surrounds us. It's everywhere. Tonight, you will hear from the people who live and work within these highly active locations, all in the efforts to discover America's most haunted. With your host, ghost hunter and author, Dan Terry.
Good evening, boys and ghouls. I am Dan Terry, your ghost host with the most haunted. This trip, we're going to go down to the south, even farther than me. We're going down to Northeast Georgia. We're going to be talking to Terry and Miranda. Now, this is a married couple who are going out, doing their own thing, finding the haunted spots, doing the stuff a lot of us love to do, you know? It doesn't all have to be a job. Some of it's just for fun. And these folks are going to the haunted B&Bs and the haunted different places to check them out. You can find them on Facebook under MiTe Para Normal, and I'll have that name run down here in just a moment. And also, they work with the Paranormal Society of Savannah. So they're really in tight with some of the other ghost groups. Got some interesting stories, and I think we're going to bring them up right now. Terry and Miranda. Hi, guys.
Hi, Dan. Thank you for having us.
Oh, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Georgia's an amazing place. I've talked to several people from down there, but what makes you decide to go ghost hunting? Is it the history? Is it a personal experience?
Yeah, it's absolutely a little bit of both. Well, we definitely have always been intrigued by it. So we've kind of started out with looking, going to on, just little generic ghost tours. And then we kind of decided, hey, we want to get deep into this and, realize that there's, a hotbed of activity around us that we can go and try to find, where we like to find places that others have not really investigated yet. So we're getting into that, but, definitely enjoying Georgia. We've love investigating in Savannah with our group. And then we've gone through like Plains, Georgia, and then we're finding some local spots here and trying to connect with other groups so that we can kind of collaborate there.
Down in the Deep South, is there well, when I started this way back when, people didn't want to admit there was ghosts. They didn't want to be seen as believing in it. Are you finding that same thing down there as you're looking for places?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's definitely a stigma with it. So, we just try to be open-minded about that and, try to be respectful of other people's, thoughts and how they do and just try to approach it as best we can with it. And so just kind of respect them. But definitely there's a stigma with it.
So you have people who think you're crazy or people who just don't want to talk to you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of people, I guess now, since it's gotten a lot more mainstream, doesn't have quite the stigma it did a few years ago. But, a lot of times, you definitely get a different look. And, if you have your T-shirt on or whatever, people are not gonna, they want to ask the questions, but then they want to be a little judgy. But we find it entertaining. So a lot of times, you'll get that negativity and then you kind of talk them through what your experiences were and, what you find intriguing about it. And, they kind of are a little bit more open to it.
How many times have you had where somebody will look you in the eye? It's happened to me many times. I don't believe in ghosts. This is ridiculous. But, and they've always got a but, right, Terry?
Yep.
Always got that. There was a place in Missouri where I used to live, and they called it the Screaming House. It was on some TV shows a couple times. And a guy comes up to me one day just like that. He says, oh, that place, I lived there when I was a kid for like 12 years. And he said, there was nothing there, except this one time. And then that led to another one. Why are people so afraid to embrace it? Even if you don't want to believe it, there it is.
Yeah. My thought with that is that, I think that they are just afraid of what it may encompass and what it may bring to them. Like just the fact of that fear of unknown and just being able, that there is that opportunity for something to truly be there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something else with that.
Oh, I love the shirt, by the way. I've got one with one ghost, but very similar to that.
Well, okay.
Black and white, very simple. I like that. And myself, I don't wear black T-shirts. I wear them here because it goes with the decor. But when I'm ghost hunting, never wear black. And the reason for that is I swore to God I got a beautiful ghost face once. And it turned out to be the light from my camera shining up on me. So,
Oh gosh.
yeah, black shirt, couldn't see me. So, all right. Well, tell us some of what you've been doing, some of the adventures you've had, because you travel to look for this stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say like our best, I guess where we really got into where we wanted to like get into the true investigations and such as I'd always been a fan. We both have always been a fan of Waverly, and just like the historical aspect of it, loved the look of it, wanted to kind of tour it and go see it. So we went there in 2021.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah. And actually did one of the overnight investigations. It was 17 degrees. I've never been, I'm a Southern girl, so I'm not used to that cold. I've never been that cold in my life, but there was so much activity and it was so wild. The best thing I got was, and it was the first time that I'd actually gotten like true evidence that I had that kind of was like, oh my gosh. And then, you're kind of hooked after you get that first piece of evidence is, there definitely wasn't children with us in 17-degree weather. We were in a room with 4 other people, I guess 4 or 5 other people. And, they were kind of doing, it was actually led by one of the team members there at the Waverly. They were asking questions in the Estes method and setting up some, like they had, there was doing, the entity that was there was turning off and on a flashlight.
Oh, okay.
Well, I had a camcorder. And so I was sitting there and I kind of, you can feel like I kept getting a cold feel. And I was like, it just didn't feel, I could kind of feel like something was right beside me. But then I didn't think anything of it, but I kept my EVP recorder going. So, we had an 8-hour drive home and I was listening and stuff. Listening to the EVP on the way home, and they asked a question, and I don't remember exactly what the question was because you couldn't really hear the question that the person asked because it was kind of muffled. But clear as day, you hear this small child giggle and say, and I was like, there is no way. And I kept listening to it. It was so clear. So after that, I was hooked. But it was that was so neat. We saw, the shadow figures there. It was, just a hotbed of activity that night. So definitely.
When I was there back in the 90s, there was a medical office, and that's where the nurse allegedly hung herself. And then right outside was a playground. Is that about the area you was in?
No, we were downstairs. We were in the basement. They, they kind of do a. It was the
main floor.
It was. I would say, yeah, maybe the main floor. It was in the very. No, we were the bottom floor. We were in the bottom floor, and it's a new area where they hadn't let anybody in before, and I guess they had just started construction with their haunted house, like the I don't know, some kind of thing they were doing, and they were and it was a room that they had not ever investigated in until that week. And it was, and that was where we were. It was down like in a main office, like off from like a medical supply room, if I remember correctly. Like it was beside where they had the morgue, like the morgue beds and stuff, like where people were laying. Because I remember people were laying in that, but I didn't do that. I'm not.
So is that where the death tunnel comes out at?
No, it was the other side of the other side of the room, the other side of the building.
Now, like you said, I don't think we were allowed in that section at that time, so I'm totally lost on this one. But
yeah,
sounds like children there though. That's kind of wild.
It was pretty wild because it was, clear as day. This little giggle and and it was some kind of. It was almost like they were asking, like, will you, turn the flashlight on and off? And it was like they were playing, like, and that was neat. And then we had, we went down into the death tunnel that day. And that was more spooky, but there were so many people. Like that was my only negative thing to say for that. If at that time we went is unfortunately where there were some people who didn't really take it seriously. And so they were loud, they were screaming, like you couldn't really get a full, like a true gauge and investigation there. we went back earlier this year with our Savannah, like Terry and I went on our own that time, but then we went back with Paranormal Society of Savannah in July. And it was so, like, we went from 17 degrees cold to like the most miserable heat you've ever seen.
It was late September.
We got there, and when there's a main room that you have when you go in and they're doing like the spill of, like the do's and don'ts, and you're kind of a little introduction, literally across the hall, like you're in this room, it's literally across the hall in an open area. There was kind of like a big table. And we decided we were going to investigate there. And I had taken a balloon and blew it up and put a light in it, one of those little lights and such. And we assumed it was a child, play with me. And we had four others in our group, literally play with the balloon. So I could put the balloon in the middle, and I would say, we could say, can you, push that to me? And literally, it didn't matter where we went around the table, the balloon would play. Like I would push it back, and then it would push it to me. It was the neatest thing. So we were able to get it on some on camera, some on video, but evidence. But our cameras kept stopping. And Terry actually built an SLS cam, and so so we actually got a little bit of activity on that, but it wasn't enough that we could really record and publish it.
Well, it doesn't take much to show. Then, of course, when the cameras are going down on you, that's part of the evidence.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
So you're really into the Waverly.
Yes, yeah, I think we've been there at the coldest time and the hottest time. So, so I think we're good there. My favorite place to investigate is the Thomas House. I absolutely love that.
You mentioned that. I've heard of it, and you told me a little bit, but what kind of place is that? Is that a museum or a B&B or a?
Yeah, it's a bed and breakfast, and so we had actually just kind of rented it with them. We went the ghost hunting weekend back in September, and we rented it for a couple of nights there with the Paranormal Society of Savannah, and they have a lot of history there. We have we were able to get like a lot of will-o-wisp there. We had I have they have what they call it the seance room, but there's we did an Estes method there, and some. Did we lose them? We did okay. We did the Estes method there, and I was able to get some activity where we were doing question and answers. Actually, Kyle Cobb has written a book about based on the Thomas House, so it's got a lot of great information that if you want to look into that. There's a child there that had drowned on the property, and he's very active. We had what else happened? I would say we had a camera go down, and I literally made the comment, now is when we'll have some activity. And I don't know, it felt like a rock. It wasn't really a rock. I don't know what it was, but literally something flew across the room and like hit me like in the side of the shoe. It was wild. I was sitting downstairs, and we were doing a method there, and I was sitting downstairs, and I look up, and there's a balcony kind of crosswalk. And I looked up, and I was like, and I saw something go across, and I knew nobody, but I didn't hear anything. And Kyle came out. He was upstairs with a group, and he came out, and he said, and I asked him, I said, who just walked across there? And he had saw the same thing. So we both saw the same apparition at the same time. So that was pretty cool. But we had a lot of activity. They feed you there, so they have great food. You have dinner, and you have breakfast and dinner with them. Very hospitable. It's a family-owned business, and you get full run of the property while you're there. They kind of shut down around 9. They leave you, just to kind of do what you want to do, and it's pretty neat. They have a little girl, I think her name was Sarah, that will move like there's a room that has dolls in it, and she'll move the dolls around. We had we were doing some question and answers in the seance room, and my EVP had actual answers. Like we asked, like, what kind of music do you like? And they clear as day said general. It was myself and Terry and 3 ladies, and it was a male voice that said general, just clear as day. So I don't know. I encourage anyone to go visit there. It's a great group. It's very affordable and definitely my favorite.
And where is that again?
Red
It's
Red
Bowling Springs, Tennessee.
And the name of it was
the Thomas House.
Okay.
Thomas House Hotel. It's about, I want to say it's about an hour northeast of Nashville.
Okay. And what kind of history does that have behind it? Is it something tragic, or other than that little girl dying, of course?
Wow,
or do you know?
There's a lot.
There's a lot. I think it was a hotel that made a lot. A lot of people went there because it was during the Prohibition times, where you could go to a place that rural and distant and not be bothered by whatever they were going through at the time.
Okay.
That was one of I think that was their prime time. And of course, with all that comes all the tragedies and accidents.
Sure. And I'm sure organized crime's involved in there somewhere. There's usually prostitution involved in something like that. There's just certain things that came with the alcohol trade back then.
Right.
So, okay. That's pretty cool. How do you all find places like that for people who are wanting to do what you do?
Look at other people. There's plenty of shows on TV. I like to go on YouTube and find places, and of course, other people's experiences. I'll watch on Facebook and get some ideas. There's some great historians on my Facebook page that'll mention some haunted places that are probably not on the beaten path that I'd like to try. Of course, we also want to hit some of the areas like penitentiaries up in West Virginia or
Brushy Mountain.
Yeah, Brushy Mountain prisons.
As long as you're in West Virginia, got the shirt now, I think. Yeah, that's it. Of the old hospital on College Hill.
Yep, that's on our bucket list too.
Oh, good. Yeah, as long as you're there. I mean, you're not far from the Ohio border. There's plenty to do.
Right.
I guess you're really probably not far from Point Pleasant if you're
that's funny. We're fixing a trip up that way to go past the Shiny Hiney and check out West Virginia Penitentiary, because they're pretty close. And then our eventual destination would be in Bel Air, Ohio, right across the river. There's of course there's the Blair House, but we're also going to try to hit the Ross House, also in Bel Air.
I'm not familiar with that last one.
The Ross House, ROSS.
Okay. What's the story behind that makes you want to come see it?
I generally hear basically the story behind it is it's a house that has a furniture store attached to it. And recently they had tried to open an escape room there. And people that were involved in the escape room were getting an extra experience from some paranormal activity. So they may have evolved it into basically a place to explore, paranormal, and to see what's there for that, more so than the escape room now.
Okay. Well, I cannot give you any personal thing, but I was talking to some folks from that area, from Point Pleasant, and directly across the street from the front door of the museum, there's a really old hotel from Prohibition or even before, still uses skeleton keys for the doors.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And they tell me that place is very haunted. A couple of groups have ghost hunted it. So, hey, while you're there, you might want to stop in and check it out.
Yeah, that's something we'll put on our list here.
Oh. So, well, you guys are doing a lot of good stuff. What kind of equipment do you like to use?
So, my favorite thing is I use the Zoom, one of those Zoom H4n recorders that I can use like with the headset at the same time. And so I can kind of get a little bit more, I can hear better live if things have happened like that I don't have when I'm using the headset and that enhanced hearing. I really like using the Flux 2. We get, a lot of great feedback with that. Of course we use Terry's, the SLS cam that he built.
I like to tote that around and just focusing on what she's doing. So you got that second piece of evidence that's running at the same time, just to kind of solidify what she saw or what she heard.
Yeah. And then we also have, I mean, at all times we're carrying multiple EVP recorders. So that way we can, have different confirmations. And then, one may pick up something that the others don't. We actually have a GS2 laser grid system that we've started using that we really enjoy. I've had some great feedback. We kind of introduced that, started using it with the Thomas House and really enjoyed that. And then,
have you had any luck with the laser grid?
Yeah, we did. We were sitting outside a room and you could actually see the activity.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
You guys are really finding some neat stuff. How much evidence have you managed to record and save yet?
So we have we've just started recording. Like we got a camera, like one of the normal, like just the video cameras. So we've started using that. We have we've got some activity from when we went to the only thing. Well, let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. With that, we were able to get like some of the will-o-wisps and some minor activity at the Thomas House because we kind of just left it going. And then we had just some cell phone recordings from. We went to the Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. Is that the name of it? We went there and we actually were able to get, there was there was a flashlight at the end of a hallway. And, normally you have them turn it off and on. But we actually they were moving literally the flashlight. So it would go like if it was sitting here, it was going around and then it would move it back. And so we had some great activity with that. We've been able to record just some hits on the with our REM pod, and then just a couple different question and answers with like we were at the Thomas House. We had some question and answer then the activity from Waverly, and that's about it because we haven't really gotten into. We just kind of been more in the experience, and we've just in the last 6 or 8 months started the recording and being able to kind of keeping up with it because we actually weren't going to publish anything. And as we've gotten more into it and started the Facebook profile and did the duo thing, where we want to share our experiences. So that we should have more of that to come in the next few years.
All right. Well, I hope so because what you're finding is incredible.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We enjoy it for sure.
So, how much have you managed to do with your friends out of Savannah?
We've been how many investigations? We've been probably at least five or six investigations. We went to the Grave-Based Museum. If you're in Savannah, I definitely suggest that you visit there. They don't do we did an overnight investigation there just as a one-off. You can tell them a little bit more about the museum.
Oh, so one of my favorite places that we attended was in Americus, Georgia, in Andersonville.
Oh, I was there once. Didn't ghost hunt, just there. Yeah.
The Civil War Museum. We went outside. Are you familiar with that Civil War Prisoner of War Museum?
Yes,
That's
very much.
Very, very dark vibes, and just a bad. It's not a bad, but an unfortunate reality that you see what both sides went through, and we had some good REM pod activity. I believe that might actually be on our Facebook in our video section because we were having some exchange on the outside
where the hospital was.
Where the hospital was, but it's no longer. There's no longer any sign of it. It's just a lot of green grass, wonderful grass landscape there. But we were out there. It was around February 5th last year, so it was windy. I wouldn't say it was cold, but it was very windy, which made it kind of cold. We had some good REM pod activity out there. We feel like we were corresponding with a prisoner that had gone to the hospital, but by the time you get to the hospital, you're pretty sick, and the hospital didn't exactly have any kind of resources or medicine. So it was pretty much the end of the line if you're going to the hospital at that time.
Okay. Yeah. Would you agree that as I think you said it, both sides had a lot of troubles on that one.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough food for the guards. There wasn't enough food for the prisoners. The guards were doing their best to take care of the prisoners. I know there was one story about the guy who crossed the deadline, and they all but begged him on their knees to come out so they didn't have to shoot him. And eventually they did that. So he just lost control.
Yeah.
And how about the story about the spring coming out during a storm? Saved him from dying of thirst.
Yeah, that's very impressive. That was my favorite part there.
Yeah. And the museum, again, I was not doing ghost hunting at the time.
Right.
I was there because I was actually passing through and wanted to stop. But do you hear ghost stories from that place? There's no place around that would be more likely to have them.
Right. I don't know. Are you talking about like inside it on all the displays?
In the displays out where the walls of the old fort used to be, the stockade.
I don't know personally anybody that, like, we were probably on the other side of the campus where the old hospital had stood for our experience. But
okay,
I think we spent some time where they had the cells there were made out of the trees and the massive space inside. And I don't remember us. We didn't get anything. I wonder, wasn't it Callie that might have gotten something there?
Yeah, I think some other team members
I do think they did have some activity.
But we didn't have any.
Maybe about 20 minutes before we came upon them.
Okay. And then there was that huge cemetery there with the names of the men who passed there.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
we had some great activity
cemetery
there at the end, like where they buried I think it was the 4.
There was like 4 or 5 bandits or something that they hung on at the same time.
Yeah, we had a lot of activity there. And that was actually where we had our first, the first where, I don't believe, but we had someone who, when they found out we had been there, they're like, I'm not into all that. But while I was there, that's exactly, we got that from someone.
Well, that was interesting because we were planning on going to that trip and he came out and said, I'm not all into this. But when I went to Andersonville, I experienced this just bad feeling. And I'm like, we're going there next weekend. So it was kind of a weird, coincidence or synchronicity. He brought it up and we weren't familiar with the area at the time. But wow.
Would you agree though, Terry, there's no such thing as coincidence?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do believe you. I agree with you.
That's intriguing. Somebody comes and talks to you about it. Next thing you know, there it is. You're going anyway. So, all right. Well, folks, if you will hold on just a minute, I got to run a quick commercial and then we'll be right back to talk more about your adventures.
Sounds great.
All right. Talk to you in a moment. Andersonville. Now, there's a place I would love to ghost hunt, guys. If you haven't been there, it really drives home part of the problems with war. And there was a whole different set of problems when both sides speak English. They're both from the same country. Some of them are related. It was a bad time. So if you get the chance, you got to check out that museum, even if you don't get to ghost hunt it. All right, my friends, stand by. I will be right back with Terry and Miranda. All right, friends and fans, I always hit you up at the end of the show about joining the Unx Network because of all the things we do. I do want to let you know, though, we went to, and I've talked about it before, I know, last October, a place in Springfield, Missouri, where we held the Unx conference, and nobody told us. We're in a paranormal conference in a hotel. Nobody told us the place was haunted. I'm sitting there at my table with my books, talking to folks, and I watch this shadow cross right in front of me and into the wall. Other people are seeing them. They're all over the place. Talk to the people who work there, and they said, well, yeah, it's haunted. Didn't you know? So we're going back there next year. We're going to have our conference there. And if you join up with the UNX network, which is free, you'll have more knowledge of that and a chance to even go yourself. They tapped me to go in and lead one of the ghost hunting groups because we're going to explore that hotel. So anyway, let's get back. I want to talk more about these folks from Georgia. I have been to several places in Georgia, but I haven't got to ghost hunt. And I like hearing their stories. So let's get back. Miranda, Terry. So anything else in Georgia you want to talk about, or some other of the places you've been to?
Yeah, we're going to mention it on that same trip to the Andersonville. Of course, I think the city next to it, or was it right down the road, Plains, has what is called the Rylander House, which is where former President Jimmy Carter stayed at some point, and has been known to have a lot of haunted activity.
Now, he lived in Plains, didn't he?
Yes.
Right up to the end, but he'd stayed in this hotel at some point. So, okay.
Oh no, this was where he actually grew up. Like this was his home when he was a child. It's where he grew up.
Okay, so that would be where Miss Lillian raised him.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember the Carter family real well. Okay, so this is their house. I assume they moved out at some point, moved into a bigger place.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Is this presidential library near there?
I believe so.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, his brother Billy has a garage, like there's the gas station he operated was still there by that hotel that I think you mentioned.
Oh, okay.
Is that the Planners? No. What is
Plains, yeah, whatever.
Planners?
We didn't say.
But you all was ghost hunting another place there. What'd you call it?
The Rylander House, which was his home when he was a child. And
did you have any luck there?
Oh yeah. We had some that actually had we started the only downside to it is if you have a lot of people, it's old home and it's small. So if people are walking outside, it messes up you can't hear it messes with your evidence there. And then also people are upstairs. It has an upstairs and then a downstairs, but we had good activity with our Estes method. And then we had a lot there's definitely something in the attic there. We had, like you could see somewhat of a shadow moving on the attic. And then we actually had some people that were within our group that we had. We hosted a class, like we were with Paranormal Society of Savannah at that time. We hosted a class there, so we took a group with us, and we had people who actually felt things, had things, were touched, or and then we had a grid go in there as well, and had some activity with that.
Oh, okay. How long was you in there for this?
Probably 2 hours. At the most, because we had multiple groups coming through, so it was 2 hours.
So your group was there for 2 hours. Was you teaching a course or taking one?
No, we taught a course at we did just like Paranormal 101 at the local. I think it was the YMCA, maybe. Like they had we got I don't know if it was one of the local buildings, and so we actually taught a class where we kind of went through equipment, went through told about some of our experiences and stuff like that. The full the Paranormal Society of Savannah hosts classes like that often. And so we did one while we were there. And then part of the class was that you were able to go on an investigation with us. And so we went to the Rylander House with the group.
Oh, cool.
It was neat to be able to take them there.
And how many people were there with you?
I would say there was 10.
I felt like there was probably about 10 per group, maybe 3 different groups rotating in and out of there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was that was like I said in early February. And the house isn't really kept up. It's left unlocked. I think people can come and go as they please to tour this house.
Okay.
So we were trying to do things, and you could hear people walking outside on the leaves and, coming in with their cars, and, there's no insulation on the house or anything. So you can hear everything.
Yeah.
Folks, as you do this, have you taught other people? Have you done this kind of a group session before?
With the Paranormal Society of Savannah. Like that's how we became that's how we even became acquainted with them, is they hosted a class at the Belmont Inn.
was it Belmont, historic Belmont, Abbeville, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were there, and that's how. And they did 2 classes there, and then that hotel is haunted as well. So they did an investigation there, and then at the Opera House. So that's how we became accustomed with them. And then after that, we started we joined their group, and then as we kind of grew with it, we joined in on doing classes and such.
Well, that's the thing about it being down here in the South like this, like SEC country, is all the Confederate and Civil War activity that took place. Because Abbeville was a big place for the Confederacy to meet. And
I've heard of it. I don't know a lot about the place, but I've heard there's a very haunted area there.
Quite a few, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was,
and also
so
a lot of the Indian tribes too.
Yeah.
No, they got it all then.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had, it was in the basement of the Opera House that we had a ton of activity. We had cat balls, we had some REM pods, and we had a couple other pieces of equipment, and they had I don't know what piece of equipment it was, that it was a type of a grid, but it would show activity as things started presenting, and you could see 3 or 4 different things started presenting while we were there, and then it started interacting. And so it was like we were asking names, and his name was John, and I mean, it was so impressive. So we, if you're in that area, I would definitely suggest going.
So you actually asked its name, and it gave it to you.
Yes. Yeah. So we were like, can you have a name? Do you have? And so it was, they did a couple other names, and then I mentioned, is your name John? And literally 3 or 4, all of it did. And we asked again, and it kept answering. And then we said, is your name like Nathan or something like that? And it was dead. So it was, question and answer. It was great.
So was you aware there was a spirit by that name, or did you just?
No, it just just came up with John. I was like, is your name John? And then it was, pretty neat.
All right, Miranda, are you sensitive, do you think, or do you just luck out on that one?
I don't know. Maybe I'm a little sensitive, but because it was, I don't know. We're still going with, trying to figure that out.
Well, it sounds like it for that, but it could also be coincidence. I don't know. Yeah. I am not psychic at all. I have all the sensitivity of a fence post, and my wife will verify that. So, all right, guys. So, tell me what else you've been. I mean, it sounds like you've been all over the South.
Yeah.
We'd like to hit more places. We've hit a few places here, right in our area here. There's a haunted covered bridge, the Stouffville covered bridge, which is not too far from us.
And what's the story behind that one?
Nobody really can say. Nobody's really come out and tell us, but I can't honestly say we had a whole lot of activity there, but I guess if you go at the right time, at the right, if you're in the right spot, you're going to hear some horse carriages, that would have gone over the bridge back when it was active. For some reason, some people claim to hear babies crying, but it's nice that it's just close by. We try to hit that every now and then. Keep our equipment in use, keep sharp.
And how many times have you hit that one?
3 times, I think, in the last about 6 months.
Do you find, and I have in my own findings, that the more I go back, the more active the ghost gets?
I feel like that's our strategy. We're trying to do that with the. Of course, now it's not maybe a good time, but we're within a half hour of Lake Lanier in Georgia here, that has a lot of history behind it's being built with on Indian burial grounds and covering up a lot of gravestones. It's a man-made lake that was built to supply water to Atlanta. So we're still trying to hit that. We think that's got a good hotspot with the water having the energy to create some activity. Plus, it's got such a history of people missing and just they disappear, they go under the water, never recover.
Yeah, like people say that they feel like they're being pulled down. I mean, it's a lot of activity like that. People say that they see things. I don't know. We're excited to ourselves.
And that is a man-made lake. Is Atlanta still having a water problem?
I wouldn't
Not that I would
say so. I think, like we had a big drought back in like '07, I think it was, where I think the Lake Lanier that was supplying the water lost like 12 feet at one point. So, and then there was a big to do, it's unrelated to paranormal, but there's a contract that we have to, that the water somehow gets down in Florida keep the mollusk.
Down to Apalachicola.
What's that?
Down to Apalachicola, where the Apalachicola oysters are. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds about right. But, no, I don't think there's a big problem in Atlanta. I'm sure they probably pay a lot for it, though.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Well, there's graveyards under the water. We have one of those here in North Carolina, not too far from me. Don't happen to have your own sea monster, do you? We have Lake.
Oh, you got Lake. No, you must be near Lake Norman then.
Yeah, we're close to Normie.
Yeah, I've seen a video about Normie on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
I've been on Lake Norman on there's a dinner boat.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I was there. The towns around it do not use Normie as a come on. Most places would have, cutouts for you to put your face in, or books, or nothing. And
it's like kid friendly too. The little Normie, the character. Yeah, that's cute. Yeah. No, we don't have a lake. We don't have a Lanny, I guess you would call it. We should though.
Yeah, you should. Okay. Well, you guys have done a lot. Tell me, what would you call your most favorite ghost hunt? I know you mentioned the one bed and breakfast.
That's what we're sticking with.
Okay.
We love that place, and we highly recommend it to anybody who's in the area. The Thomas House Hotel. They're just wonderful people. The place is not a 5-star, and they'll be the first to admit it. It's perfectly imperfect, though. There's just so many rooms, and there's so many off rooms and lobbies and just libraries that if you have a group of 30 people, you're never going to be like crowded together. There's an outdoor porch I crashed on for like 2 hours one night when we were doing the investigation. There's a grounds that has some places. There's a church. There's a burnt down or broken down church across the street that has history. So
wow.
It's fun. It's just a beautiful area too. It's Appalachian backgrounds, mountains. So yeah, we love that place.
You talked about your list. What's the next place you're just really wanting to get to?
For me, it's West Virginia. I think we're going to try and get to the penitentiary. You mentioned, old hospital on College Hill,
right?
St. Albans in Radford. Want to get up into like Harlan County, Kentucky. I like the coal mining areas, and the one thing that intrigues me the most out of everything, whether you think it's paranormal now, is the Mammoth Cave system in southeast Kentucky, because you don't know what's down there.
That's true.
Massive. It's massive. And then there's places they probably haven't been able to get to. What's down there? I don't know.
Well, there's isn't there an Indian burial ground over by that mental asylum in West Virginia? The old mental asylum. I can't remember its name now.
There could be.
I'm
up in is that the sanitarium?
Yeah. And I can't right off the top of my head. I can't remember. Say again?
Trans-Allegheny.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's on our list too.
I got to interview the lady who runs it. Met her at a conference I was speaking at last year, and her name's Brandy Butcher.
Okay.
Awesome woman. If you have a chance to contact her, she's pretty cool.
Okay.
Nice.
So yeah, you got a lot of good plans going. What's your next adventure? Do you know yet?
2 weeks we're going to
that Ross House in Bel Air, Ohio. But on the way, we hope to hit the Mothman Museum and check out the hotel you mentioned across the street.
Okay.
We're going to swing by the penitentiary, which is, it just seems like everything's along the Ohio River right there.
It is.
And, I love the Ohio, Kentucky part of the Ohio River. I just think that in West Virginia, I just think that's got a hotbed of just up and down there. And I want to learn more about the ley lines too, the phenomena.
Okay, sure. Well, there's a lot of them there that all coincide right close to that.
I think so. I mean, there's no, like you said, there's no coincidence.
Mm-hmm. And if you get the chance anytime, the Blennerhassett Hotel,
it's
not far from there.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about when it was across from the Mothman, but it didn't sound right. But
different
I
town.
do follow them, and I'm trying to put that somewhere on the list too.
Oh yeah. Now, if you get the chance to get there, contact Adra. She is a sweetheart. She started a conference there last year.
Right.
They were I was one of the speakers, and they were expecting, I forgot, they were expecting 80 or 90 people. They had over 500.
Yeah.
We were tearing down walls to put more chairs in because so
Wow.
many people came in. They were not expecting it. She did a great job. Got to have another one this year. If you get the chance, that hotel is amazingly haunted. You folks will have a blast in it.
Looks beautiful. I've kind of done a Google street view of it. It's such a like intimate little town, and I think that's just great for states that just need that kind of recognition and identity, and of course tourist money,
Yes.
just keep going.
And that's, I think, a lot of it. The reason that the ghost thing is opening up is these little towns use whatever they can to survive, and they have to. So, ever getting the chance up here in North Carolina, we've got a nice haunted historical museum in Mount Airy.
We were there. We were at the is that where the distillery is?
It's in town. It's a different building.
We were at the distillery through Ghost Hunt weekends back in May. Yeah.
Really?
Is that Mount Airy? It's like by the race car museum or something like that.
It's a little ways down. Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah. We spent a night there. Oh, it was so hot.
And this is the town they based Mayberry on for the Andy Griffin show.
Okay.
This is his hometown. But yeah, we got ghosts there. If you took the ghost tour, I helped give the ghost tours. I worked at the distillery as a guide for a while, but I don't think I was there in May. It's really an amazing place. I wish I'd known you guys then.
We got a list here. We're just, it just didn't come up. But yeah, we were in that little church there. It was, so boggy. We were trying to get instruction. We just kind of like, a lot of us just started filtering outside because it was just so stuffy in there. It was a good time. It was a good tour. Beautiful place.
Okay, you was inside of a church. We don't take anyone inside of any buildings usually. So
we did a ghost tour. It was the full ghost tour there. It was with Ghost Hunt weekends. We actually started in the church, and that's where Steve Gonzalez was there, and so that's where he was. And then after the fact, we actually did investigation inside the church. They had some great activity. There was a lady there that was getting hits on every question she asked. And but we were in a group setting there. There was a lot of people. We went through pretty much every building there and did some investigations.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool then. I didn't know that part.
Because we're talking about the distillery that used to be a prison.
Oh, no, you're okay. I know what you're talking about. Brushy Mountain?
No, it's in North Carolina. I want to say it's on the other side of Charlotte. I thought it was Mount Airy.
Okay, it's not going to be Mount Airy. Ours was in a strip mall.
Okay, that's. I'm trying to think what it is.
That's why I'm confused. Yeah. If you get the chance, make sure and let me know. I'll direct you to some places.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we take off here in the last couple minutes?
No, I thought we were pretty comprehensive. I think you asked us the right questions. So
I think people have a good idea about you all and your friends with Savannah. It was at Paranormal Society of Savannah.
Yep. They're hopping down there.
Apparently, I'd like to get to meet them. Maybe I can get them on the show with you one time.
I'm sure they'd love it. Yeah.
All right. Well, Miranda and Terry with MiTe, help me out here. MiTe Para Normal.
Correct.
Because Facebook wouldn't let you or YouTube wouldn't let you put it all on, one or the other.
Facebook one last, yeah.
That's funny. Okay. Well, thanks again for coming on, guys. Y'all have been great, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks for the stories and the tips. Some of these places I've never heard of.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
All right. Well, y'all have a happy new year and take care.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, friends. There are so many little teams, groups like this, couples, and you all have seen, I've had A&L on here, and I've had a couple other married couples who do this. My wife and I did this for many years. There is so much going on out there. You just have to reach out and grab it. And a little research on if you're going on a trip, little research, you'll find these places, people to talk to. It's incredible. And while you're researching, check out the UNX Network. If you get onto the website, which is unxnetwork.com, drop down a little bit on the opening page. There's a place to fill in your email address, and bam, it's free. You're a member. It takes a few seconds. And what are you going to get out of that? Well, let me tell you. Out of that, you get access to the X blog. And guys, I got to say, it's been burning up. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've had cube-shaped UFOs appearing in places. And we've had UFOs being seen over airports again. More folks coming out with the military saying, hey, I've seen this, I've seen that. Congress. All of this gets tapped on in the blog. You get a newsletter, comes out every month, comes right to your email, just like the blog. And on this one, you never know what you're going to find on there. There's always some good stories about cryptids, haunts, just a kind of a collection of small stories of things going on. But the big one, this is the one you got to understand, is so cool. You will get access. Well, you get it. It comes in the email, a digital form of our magazine. You can pick up the solid form paper if you want, but for free, once a month, the UNX magazine comes right into your email box. So you get to see it. And guys, we get some of the best. The magazine is just incredible. I always get a paper copy because I'm kind of old-fashioned that way. But the one on the left there has an article I wrote about the haunted battleship North Carolina, and talked to some of the teams, one team in particular who's done it 30-some times. There's also an article I wrote because there used to be legends every Halloween that when I was a kid, that the cults and devil worshipers were looking to kidnap blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls and sacrifice them, which I found the legends of that, the legends of poisoned fruit, razor blades and apples, bad candy. I found the source of every one of those and put down the truth and how ridiculous those urban legends became based on some little thing, usually someone trying to murder somebody. The other one over here was about UFOs. The most recent one we've had, I did one here recently, an article on the true Jack the Ripper, maybe. Yeah, but there was a American. He actually came from Ireland, but he was an American. He lived here, and there's a lot of reason to believe he may have been the real Jack the Ripper. So you get that magazine directly in your box once a month with some great stories, and it's all free. Just sign up for it. And other than that, my friends, I am going to take off here, but I want you all to be careful. I want you all to stay warm. I think there's some bad weather coming my way, at least, and stay spooked. Good night.